creative recruiter in town for the ad business, and also account people, not in job, children. Anyway, so one of the things Julie said to me during breakfast a couple weeks ago was she said your students have got to understand how they need to apply their conceptual thinking and all the talents you're teaching them to the digital space. This is what the ad agencies are having their biggest struggle with, and that they're hoping that a new generation of students are going to come in and know how to be able to apply this. So Karan is giving you guys a golden opportunity here to understand what that space is that you got to walk into and apply what you're learning in this class. Tell them more. Okay, explain your day at work. Huh? Chill?
No, I work with a lot of teams, and so I'm very focused.
The teams that you work with are made of whom?
All right, so we have the planning team where they're going out buying ads. Then we have the strategy team which is doing the groundwork. Then we have the creative team which is putting out ads out there. So since I focus on social, my job is to help each team answer their social questions, what they're getting asked by the client. The creative team, they want to know if this ad is better than this ad. So we look at data and say, okay, no, this ad doesn't perform as well. Let's run a test. Let's just change the color of the car and see if this drives more clicks or conversions for you. The strategy team wants to know, okay, so we're investing in Game of Thrones next year. Do you think there's opportunity for us? What do people say about Game of Thrones? Are the fans as loyal as you want them to be? Can they be a part of the show? Even though this is just making shit up right now. I'm not Game of Thrones. They're trying to work with Walking Dead. They already work with Walking Dead.
Oh, I was getting excited over Game of Thrones. Go ahead.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones is legitimate pornography on television.
And then planning team, they have a different objective. They just want to see if their campaigns are well, if they're meeting clients. The client goal is to get as many people as we can on our website. So, the thing with autos is you can't buy a car online. So it's kind of hard to tell who is actually intended to buy a car. So another part of our job is to look at wins or look at what action can a person do on a website that makes us think that they might buy a car. So if someone goes on a website and builds a car and looks at a dealer, we're like, okay, this guy's more likely to buy a car than someone who does not go on the website. So we're driving these actions. So my job with planning team is to see if their campaign is doing well and driving enough actions. Basically, there's so much social data, you can slice it the way you want it to tell the story. And it's getting bigger.
Hold on, I want to talk about something you just said. You can slice it any way you want to tell the story. This is what you guys have got to be aware of, is the bullshit that sits in data. Everybody is clamoring today, we want data, we're going to base every decision on data, we're going to do this on data and everything, and we're going to have focus groups, and we're going to find out this, and we're going to find out that. So, let me tell you the reality that I learned, and you'll tell me whether it's still realistic. They would come to us in the ad business and say, we're a creative run agency. Now, there are different kinds of ad agencies. There are ones that are creative run, there's ones that are account run, there's ones that are research run, where that takes the precedence. Because I always ended up in creative run agencies. They would come to us and say, here's the creative brief, here's the information, go create. We would create these great spots, and then they would do the research to back up what we created, as opposed to saying, put the creative out there and let's see what the reality is. If you go into the account run places, they'll look at strategies, and then they'll do the research to back up the strategies that they've created, and then they'll throw the creative against it to back up the strategy. So I used to see a lot of this. So I have become so suspicious of data because you can construct the puzzle of data in whichever direction you want it to work. So especially with my nonprofit clients today, they have become data crazed. What does the data show when the donors give the money, that the service that they're funding, how many people's lives has it changed? Well, how can you tell how it's actually changed their lives? And it's the most ridiculous statement ever. How do you quantify that someone's life has been changed? But people are serious about this. So there's this big organization called the Conference Board, which has been around for 100 years. It's basically the trade organization of the corporate world. It sits in New York. They've got something like 72 member countries. They run these conferences all over the world for corporations, for this and that. So they've now started a philanthropy blog, which I write for. And I put out a whole piece in there about the questions about data. I was almost slaughtered across the world. How dare you tap on the holy grail of data? Don't you realize that data is everything today? And you realize people are sitting there talking pablum because they want to be part of the data club. They don't want their clients to see that they're not in the latest trend. Let's go back to trends. They need to be part of the data trend. But the analysis of it, you've got to have constantly critically thinking, questioning minds so that you're not, and if you're pulled into bullshit, at least know that you are functioning within a framework of bullshit. So that you can be honest with yourselves. Because that's the trend that everybody wants right now. So there's a whole lot of stuff you gotta play with here. Did you get that on camera? Anyway, so and debate me if you want to debate me over this, it's perfectly fine. So Karan, talk to them now. They have a final assignment. Okay? Their final assignment is now that they have learned, they've created their own products. And through the class, almost every one of them created an app was their product. They've learned how to do a creative brief, how to be able to do a radio commercial, TV commercial, ads, you know the whole drill. Outdoor boards. What I haven't taught them is what you do, because I figured you were much better to talk to them about what they need to do digitally, okay? So their final assignment is they've got, their product is Santa Claus. They have got to sell Santa Claus to populations that they decide, and they've basically got to do an ad campaign and a radio and TV and outdoor, and they're going to have to do digital. I haven't taught them yet anything about digital. You are coming in now to give them the lesson of how they need to start thinking about doing the digital campaign about Santa Claus.
All right. I'll talk about what not to do,
Okay.
if that helps.
Fine. Talk about what not to do first.
Do you have my slide essentially?
Yes, hold on. Yes, Rose has got it. We're going to put everything up there.
Our app is called Tell a Story, and it basically combines the capabilities of audiobook and e-text, and it allows you to interact with it verbally. So you can give verbal commands like highlight, remember things, export, and share. So, called Tell a Story.
Okay. Shannon.
We're doing an interactive,
Shannon, talk loud enough so everybody hears.
we're doing an interactive travel application. It's called the Loris. It's for study abroad students, and the name Loris is a mashup between local and tourist. So we kind of have it based in categories depending on where you want to go or what you want to do. It's kind of having it all in one place instead of having to go on different sites.
And you can interact with people remotely close to you who are also studying abroad and who are age group. Very interactive side.
Folks, let's get moving here. All right.
Our product is called, or our app is called Water Logger, and in the face of California severe drought for the third year now, it allows you to quantify your water usage, or your hydro footprint is what we're calling it, whether it's through the faucets or showers in your home or products that you purchase.
But I have to tell you something. In the first 2 weeks when I said to them, you're going to create your own products, because I wanted them to get into creativity immediately by creating their own products and seeing what it took, I thought they were going to come back to like in your class, this is a water, this is a mustard. Everyone came back with an app. Every single one. Things have changed in 2 years since your class. So dramatically. All right, go ahead, guys. What else? Folks, you just got to pop up and talk. Let's go.
We created an app called Fred. He's a little guy who sits on your phone and shuts down all your cell phone's communication capacity when your car is moving above 15 miles an hour.
Much more effectively than Waze when it comes up and it says, oops, are you the passenger or are you the passenger? Go ahead. Next, Rosa.
Created app that pretty much it's both an app and an accessory pro. The accessory is a breathalyzer that checks the blood alcohol content in your blood. So when you go out, it pretty much shows you if you're still cool to drive or not. And then if you're not, this ties it up to Uber-like you drink we drive service where the drivers come and pick you up with your car and drive you home with your own car.
Next.
For the small an app, it's actually a wristband that's designed for a baby who cannot talk yet. So when you look at the wristband, you can see from the color how the baby is feeling, like whether the baby is hungry, sleepy, or the baby wants to pee, just by reading the wristband.
And I have to say something, and she's in the first class, but a lot of them are here tonight to see a fabulous campaign that I saw today that you guys did in outdoor and everything. Really great stuff. Okay, next, Sam. There's another male in the class. What that was like? Go ahead.
We created an app that's centered around the concept of commercial spaceflight and Virgin Galactic that they're proposing, but since it was $250,000 for a ticket on that or some outrageous price, we made an app that would be like a live streaming interactive sort of display that everyone would.
Who else? Anybody else? Is that it? Okay, I guess that's it. All right.
Stealing all these ideas.
You can take every single one of them. You and I are yet to create the idea that raises those millions.
Okay, so what I want to speak about is how all you guys have really great ideas and it kind of fits in.
You know what, guys? Let's move down this way towards it.
So, all you guys have really good ideas, and it kind of really fits in what I want to speak about. And since they're apps, I know eventually you guys want to build a social media strategy around it, put a digital campaign around it. So, just want to share some learnings which we see in the agency and how it affects our campaign and what a startup should do when they're going for their initial campaign, marketing, branding strategy. So, what do you guys think of Apple as a social brand? Do you think it's social? What would you say there? Just for your answer?
Why do I think it's social? Because I think it's kind of it's a platform and gateway for everything that is social in my life, which makes it social.
All right. So it kind of enables.
It enables me to be social in any way I want to be social, whether it's over a phone or an app or iChat or SMS or iMessage or FaceTime or mail or it's all everything. My life is Apple, and then my life is very social.
Hold on. Rose, is there a way to put him on a mic?
Possibly.
Will that affect your sound if he's on a mic?
Yep.
Will it be bad for you?
I don't think so.
So is it better
It's
with
good.
the mic or without the mic?
I think with mic.
With mic, okay, fine. Okay.
Good job, Rose.
Okay. Okay. So, what else? Do you guys think Apple is social as a brand you can reach out to and communicate with?
I'm not trying to communicate with Apple as a brand on social media. I don't follow them. I haven't links really.
Okay. All right. That brings me to my next.
Hold on, Karan, wait 1 minute. Guys, he's asking you questions that you guys can be answering. Don't sit here silent. The one thing I have taught you all semester, engage, critically think, exchange. Don't sit here like a bunch of invisible, rocks while he's talking. Engage with him. Talk, involve yourselves. Don't be passive or you're never going to get any jobs. Nobody wants to deal with a bunch of passive automatrons sitting in a classroom. Okay, he's not asking you brain surgery here. Just go in, guys.
Has a point of view. I kind of agree with Alison. It's not, I paused for a little bit because it's not a brand that I've ever really thought about being in conversation with. I feel like it's social to the extent that when there's a problem, I know what community I need to talk to about it, and I know that I know the experience I'll have if I need to go into the Apple store and discuss a product, but I wouldn't per se feel like I identify with like a social connection online with Apple.
All right.
I think Apple is present in social conversations. People are always talking about Apple, but Apple doesn't spark those conversations. Apple doesn't start the conversation. People start it themselves, so that's quite interesting, because they're not present mainly in social media.
Yeah, going along the lines of what Dave said, is that it depends on your definition of social. So they don't really have a social media presence, but they have laid the platform for online digital social interactions. However, I will say, since Apple, in their Genius Bar and the Apple stores, they've created a community that actually engages people socially in real life, not online. So they have created a space that welcomes you in, and you can just come by with your problems, tell somebody about it. Everyone's here to help you because it's customer service driven first, which is very social of a thing to do. So if you're talking like social as in social media, they have a completely different presence in a lot of brands that are trying to jump on that bandwagon that Apple has actually laid the platform for.
I think those definition of social is kind of out there in the open. Like it's what you guys think, so there's no right answer to being social.
Oh yeah, I was saying, what I wanted to say was, this goes against my belief for every brand. I feel like every brand or business needs to have a social media presence. Like, I'm writing whole pieces about it, I strongly believe it, but Apple is so ubiquitous, and it's like the number one leading brand like in the world now. They don't need it. They don't really need a social media presence.
Well, they are.
And that's such a big, obviously a huge statement to say. I feel like you don't need to complain about Apple through social media, like you can with like American Airlines. Apple, you have the Genius Bar, you have Apple Care, you have support online.
And what about Coke or Pepsi? They're bigger, they're as big as Pepsi, they're as big as Apple.
That's true, that is true, but they have also these like legendary ad campaigns that I feel like that's a repetition we need it. But just to also, you don't really have much of a social media, I don't follow them really. Exactly, so.
That's a good point.
To me, Coke and Pepsi normally have campaigns that do ask people to respond to things. For me, I think of, I don't know why, but I feel like I've seen things that have been more interactive, where they're trying to have a conversation through their ad campaigns with their consumers, whereas I see Apple up, in Cupertino on its hill guarded by all the security with all these people who work for Apple are not exposed to a lot of things that Apple does. I feel like Steve Jobs was very much in charge of it, and it was what he wanted. He was never like, what does the consumer want?
They're reading the same book I made you guys read.
He was saying, I know what you want before you even know it, and I'm going to give it to you, and it doesn't matter what you think. So I would actually think Apple is kind of the opposite of a social brand, not discussing necessarily its social media. I'm not really keen on that, but more of just as I envision it, I don't see Apple as a brand that I could ever just go and have a conversation with. I'm just waiting for, they don't ask people what they don't care what you think of their new iPhone. They're going to do whatever they want next that they think is best, and I think that's why they're leaders, is because if they're asking us these things, then they wouldn't be 10 steps ahead of the rest of us.
I want you guys to know something. Listen to this critical thinking path from Rain. She's the one undergraduate sitting in this class. That was pretty impressive. I want to say, anybody else want to say something on this? Because I want to say a couple things. All right, so first of all, tie this back, Karan, to what we were talking about earlier, about people not believing in brands or following the hashtag of brands. What about the Apple brands? Is that in a different category? That people believe in it?
I think it's a lifestyle. Buy into it and then they can't get out of it. It's a great product, it looks good, feels good, does the job.
Apple is also very strongly tied to our notion of self. And so it's, with other brands there's a separation, whereas with Apple, it's, it is the brand that helps you express yourself. It's the brand that helps you make a statement about how you choose to move through life. So there's less of a separation.
I've heard this before and I really love this. The iPhone is such a great product that it doesn't even come with a manual. So I feel like it's true. Does the iPhone come with a manual? Doesn't. So I feel like that's what contributes to.
Nobody follows the manuals any longer. It's all just, guys, this gets back to design thinking and design strategy. These products are designed, as we learned when we read the whole design thinking book, the IDEO book, so that it just facilitates your usage naturally without having to read all these manuals like we used to have to do. Unless, of course, you're in a hotel room and you're faced with yet another cable company with another changers and that you don't even know how to work. Yet we were in Ojai over the weekend. I think it took me 2 hours to figure out how to work the television. Go ahead.
On a similar
That tells you everything about me, doesn't it?
There was a study where they put a tablet in front of infants and a magazine in front of infants, and the infants caught on to how the tablet was functioning, or the iPad, before they could figure out to turn a page in the magazine to look at the next image. So that just kind of shows you there's an inherent understanding of the fluidity of how the design of
Right, so this is bringing together so much that we have learned in class. The whole study of Apple, the issues of design thinking, the issues of branding and concept, and you're seeing how this is all weaving together. I want to say something else here, folks, about your participation in these discussions. Life becomes much more interesting and much more textured and much more meaningful when you exchange ideas with one another and are willing to risk putting your thoughts out there. Life and you stay really boring when you don't participate in a given exchange. So think about who you want to be in the world and what kind of life you want to be living when we have these discussions. Rosen.
Because pretty much a lot of people have mentioned that Apple is viewed as a lifestyle brand, and therefore it doesn't meet social media presence at least. I was thinking, are like at least luxury cars in the same category, but they do have a pretty prominent social media presence, most of them. They are viewed as lifestyle brands.
Since I work in auto, I know why this is, because there's so much competition. There aren't too many iPhones out there, and people who use iPhones, they're loyal to them. Whereas someone who has a BMW might buy an Audi next time because it's better looking car, it's cheaper, and more features.
Right, and I think the reason they are so loyal to them is one, because there's not as much competition as there is in the automobile industry. But as Rutana was saying, it's like lifestyle in the sense that owning Apple products is an expression of like a very deep individual spirit almost. And then I think as you said, then you do feel there's almost guilt if you do want to try and get out of that brand, because it's almost like you're second guessing a very, very fundamental choice.
I think even more than guilt, it's almost like you can't get out, even if you wanted to, because everything is connected.
Dina, just speak up, go ahead.
I think that a lot of this is interesting given all of our age, because it seems to me like Apple has stopped marketing themselves as be different or think different over the past, 4 or so years. So I think that we're still remembering like a very early generation of what, and they do really propagate that like brand origin myth. But if you actually look at their branding now, it's like kind of dropped that to the wayside.
I think you're right. I think that's a really great point, and it's kind of cool. I think because now it has the most powerful marketing and branding behind it, and that's loyal word of mouth. That's like, I'm an advocate of Apple. I literally think if you have a Windows computer, I'd judge you. And I think there's a lot of people who own Apple products who think like that. Like, what more powerful than that?
I think that also something with Mac is that if you're Googling like an issue with your Mac, the first thing you get to is a forum rather than a social media outlet. because you're getting like users rather than.
Oh, you have no idea how that makes me crazy. Try to go online to find out a problem. You can't ever get to the company. All you can get to is a forum with everybody's opinions and ideas, and they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
I disagree on that. I have forums, I get my things like that. I think this is a generational thing. Forums is where I find my answers, and I find them instantly. I don't know about you guys, but I never have a problem on a forum. Like,
Apple forums particularly.
yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, I don't know shit about fixing shit. So
Yeah.
you won't find me posting on a forum. I think people who take the time to post on a forum kind of like their experience with the product, I hope. But my experience with forums have been the total opposite.
There is such literally,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. They literally act as manuals that you don't have.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you don't want to read all the extra detail that you don't need at the moment. But when you need a functionality, you go to the Apple forums and it's right there.
And it's not like this Chinese jibber jabber in a manual. It's like someone's like, oh, I just held down my power button for 10 minutes and like I fixed it. Like, oh, awesome.
And even the other features that are built into these products, I don't know, I've noticed, I love Google Chrome till I was using PC. But when I shifted to Apple, even though I prefer that format, I just realized that things work so much better with Safari that I had to shift. So they promote their smaller designs within their softwares also because they're integrated so well that ultimately your world is surrounded by everything Apple design and then you don't want to shift.
I got an Apple, this laptop is pretty much a month old and I had a Windows PC for I think 7 years before this, so I'm completely new to this OS, but I learned it in a matter of 4 or 5 days and I didn't even have to go online to figure out how to.
And did you get it because we read the Steve Jobs book?
I think it subconsciously may have influenced me, but
So good. If you're not a Steve Jobs fan, that's
I was going to switch from an iPhone. I was up for an upgrade. I was going to switch to another kind of phone because my battery life was killing me. And then reading the book renewed my commitment to the Apple brand. And I won't. That was the one time I would have considered it, and I won't switch.
Alright, so I think you guys kind of answered the question yourself that Apple is a social brand because you're talking about it. Would you talk about Samsung so much?
No.
I'm just stuck on the slide for half an hour. I'm trying to change it, like, no. So success. So yeah, Apple is a social brand because people talk about it. But Apple, like someone pointed out, it's not on social. They have no Facebook pages, they have no Twitter account, they have no YouTube channel. They have one page for iTunes, which they kind of use to, I think they use it for cross-branding with other labels to put music out. But again, this is not run as it should be. It's not the best Facebook page out there. But Apple, people talk about Apple. So this is mentions of Apple in the last 1 year. And I guess you guys can guess what that spike was.
Yeah. iPhone 6.
iPhone 6. So
Karan, look at me, I'm sending this to your mother.
So Apple's still really social. People talk about Apple all the time. So they don't need to be on Facebook or Twitter pushing the message. People know what they want to know. People look for information. News sources talk about them. They're always trending without any money behind it. Their media spend's really low. So this is one spectrum of brands. So you don't have to be on social to be social. This is what my point comes down to. Because I have a lot of friends who are starting their new companies, new startups. They tell me, hey man, should I have a Facebook page, an Instagram account, a Vine account, a YouTube? Relax. Don't waste your time, don't waste your money, and just put your energy somewhere else. Because you see like a small business which has like all these, they have a Tumblr, they have a Vine, they have a, and then they have to hire someone to run these pages, and they're spending more time thinking of social and how to be cool on social than doing what they really like doing. So this is what we face in agency level. We have some campaigns which are very specific to a really small target audience, and we don't want that campaign to be. So we don't want that campaign to go out to everybody. We want to have a really laser focus on our campaign where this message goes to. So the biggest thing in social, people say, is find your audience and engage with them. I think engaging with them comes way later. Finding them is the biggest problem and which should be addressed from the start. And I'm glad you kind of brought that up when you were talking about it. I think it's about finding out and getting to talk about you. Like rather than engaging with them, just do cool stuff and they will talk about you. But what you have to do is to find them where they are, where they spend their time, what their interests are. So, like all you guys have really cool apps, and say the travel app. The travel app has to. What's your specific audience? Can I ask you that question?
So like study abroad students, 18 to 24 usually.
Me and adults,
Yeah.
we're traveling.
All right, so that's a really good audience. You guys already kind of narrowed down who you want to target. So how do you guys plan to reach them? Do you know where they interact, what they do on social, people who moved countries and they want to learn about city and they want to learn about new culture, they want to learn how to get things done?
You know, specifically people who are still in college, people who are following college, you know, like people who are following USC, for example. So that's kind of like a social media tool I would use, kind of, to go under all the people who are following USC and find their, like, people who are interested in travel specifically, like adventure, spontaneous, people who are still in school, or just young adults who are looking for, thirsty for adventure.
Excuse me, what are you doing here? What, the presentation's going on up here? Okay, so this is where it's going on.
So yeah,
So that's
so,
awesome. You actually have a lot of the puzzle figured out because you know what your audience is. The second piece here is usually figuring out where they spend their time, where they talk about, because I'm a student who moved from India to here. I would never talk about my experiences on Facebook. I would rather go on a forum where I can talk to other people like me who are in an anonymous situation. You know what I'm saying? So the biggest piece in social right now is figuring out who your audience is, where they spend time, and that's where you got to invest your money and how you got to brand them. Like it all comes down to that, because you could have a LinkedIn page and no one interact with your LinkedIn page because students aren't on LinkedIn who are starting school. Like for Gary's nonprofit revolution, we had Facebook campaigns, Twitter campaigns, blogs. What worked best? Email. Why? Because your audience is the email sending audience, and that's what's still running.
He taught me how to analyze my MailChimp as the most important thing, rather than to analyze all my social marketing, because my most valuable information was in who was opening, how many times these people opened, because it meant they were sending it out. Who were these people? And he said to me, go and create a relationship with the people who are opening the most and sending out the most. That's where your business sits.
I just had a conversation with my partner. We do an event series here in LA and New York, and our MailChimp account is all I talk to him about. He wants to make sure we create content around events. I'm like, dude, tell me who are our 5-star subscribers, who open our email every time, and let's make sure we know all their birthdays and send them happy birthdays for no reason. Because those are the people that are so important, and your MailChimp activity is where your consumers.
By the way, did any of you who signed up for my blog, this morning's blog that went out on the Creative Sunday morning, went through the roof. Thousands of people opened. People are sending it out all over the place. People are sending it out 35 times, 40 times. I have heard from some of the most influential nonprofit leaders in the city have already said, we want to be involved, we want to meet your students, we want this, we want that. If for some reason, the fact of Creative Sunday morning, of bringing people to my house to talk with each other about creativity, it got more response already than my blog post on the work that I did with William Morris and Deborah and all the celeb foundations 2 weeks ago.
Why?
Which is really interesting, and I thought that one went through the roof.
Why do you think that happened?
Because I think the informal discussion of creativity, particularly with a new generation, everybody absolutely wants in. That's what I'm finding. This one, they want in. They're emailing, even professors here on campus have emailed. One of them in this program got really upset. She says, how come I wasn't invited? And so it's like, the people are approaching me from everywhere saying, I want to be a speaker, I want to do this. I called my wife and said, I think I have business on my hands. Anyway, go on.
So I want to talk about your final product, Santa Claus.
Hold on, Karan, I want you to do one thing. I'm taking pictures of all of this. Hold on. Just go back to your beginning slide. I want to make sure I have every single slide here. No. Or yeah, do you think Apple is a brand? Hold on a second, let me get that. Next one. Keep going. Next one. Okay. Keep going. Keep going. Okay. All right, go ahead. Whoops, sorry, go back. Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, I think I want to go back to the product you're building and build a consumer profile of who you send your message to. Because that's what will help you guys decide what channels to send your message on and how to talk to people who would make decisions for the Santa Claus brand. Can that be exercise?
Yes, you're asking me this or you're asking that?
I'm asking you.
Ask the question again?
Can this be an exercise where we talk about consumer profile for Santa Claus products?
Sure. Okay? Exercise. First of all, guys, who is Santa Claus?
St. Vincent or St. Nicholas?
Nicholas.
St. Nicholas.
Okay, and who is St. Nicholas? We gotta find this out. Let's go next. And who was Santa Claus in popular culture when not St. Nicholas?
Chris Kringle.
Kris Kringle. What does Santa Claus do?
He brings
Who is
gifts
Santa?
to little
What
boys and girls.
actions does Santa Claus take?
He brings gifts to little boys and girls, and he flies on reindeers and
He flies on reindeers. Where does he fly? Where do you see him
from
fly?
the North Pole
From the North Pole. And where do you see him fly?
in the sky.
In the sky. Okay, I remember this little Jewish kid at the age of 5 years old on Christmas Eve. I stayed up the whole night trying to see what my friends were talking about, staring through, I remember, a frozen window in Chicago, getting rid of the ice to see all night long if I could see Santa Claus flying through the sky. And I remember my parents saying to me, "There is no Santa Claus, you're Jewish." But I refused to believe them. All right, now, where does Santa Claus get into the house through?
Chimney.
And we had no chimney, we lived in an apartment building. And I kept trying to figure out where was he going to come through. All right, and what does Santa Claus bring?
Gifts.
On a tangible level, he brings gifts. On the intangible level, what does Santa Claus
Joy.
bring? Joy. What else?
Happiness.
Happiness.
Christmas spirit.
Christmas spirit.
Holiday spirit.
Wonder. Wonder and mystery, which is what really captures people. Santa Claus is the wonder and mystery of Christmas for a little kid. You think Jesus Christ is the wonder and mystery for a little kid? You can't relate to that or understand that this guy being killed on a cross.
No.
It's like, he's looking at they're looking at Santa Claus. With the blood dripping down the guy. I mean,
Well,
you're 5 years
Christmas
old.
isn't about the crucifixion, it's about the birth of Christ.
Yes. Okay. Anyway, so who are we talking to when we talked about Santa Claus?
Children.
Yes.
People
Parents. Who else are we talking to?
You can talk to the skeptics too that need it.
Talk to who?
The skeptics, the people that need
The
one.
skeptics. You're talking about mystery and wonder? Everybody needs some mystery and wonder in their life, regardless of how logical we've all become. Okay? So let's talk about the consumer profile. Take a segment, guys. Let's look at one segment and let's talk about them. Choose a segment.
Children.
Children. Give us an age, Sam.
3 to 8.
3 to 8. Okay, guys? Let's build our consumer profile. Who are these kids?
Very young.
They believe in Santa, probably.
Okay, they probably believe in Santa.
Probably still.
Okay?
If not, they're at least impressionable.
Okay, and they're impressionable. Now, let's segment this a little bit further. Segment this economically. Let's talk about the difference between kids who live in poverty and kids who live in wealth. Is there a difference here in how they're going to perceive Santa Claus? Okay, guys, what have I just done? I've dug into these segments and focused. We keep talking about the art of focus. And I've told you many times, the deeper and the clearer your focus and the more framed in it is, the more you can create something powerful. So let's focus in on kids of poverty for a second. What is the consumer profile there, the issues there, the need to believe there?
Hope.
How am I doing? You well? Thank you. Good.
It's less about like tangible gifts and more about the emotions and hope and joy and optimism.
Why is it less about tangible gifts?
because there's not as much purchasing.
They can't afford all these gifts.
Yes.
Okay? So that's a so then what is it about for them?
Hope.
A miracle? Yes. Hope.
Mystery. Stories.
His mystery, stories, family, warmth, a sense of bonding. Cultures and stories create a culture. It's the family culture. They'll grow up and they'll remember, we didn't have much, but if you ever talk to kids who grew up in poverty, most of them don't even realize they were poor when they were kids. They remember their families, they remember love, they remember all sorts of interesting stuff. It's only when they got older that they began to realize they were poor. Which is a really interesting thing when you think about it. So you're dealing with something very, very different here. Let's talk about kids living in wealth. What does Santa Claus mean to them? What's the profile for these kids? What else does Christmas represent?
Wishing.
What else does Christmas represent? Holiday, Hawaii, the Caribbean, Europe, all these things, Oh, we saw images of Santa Claus while we were in Paris, and all this kind of stuff. So it represents something completely different to them. You're dealing with a whole different profile here. My extended family, all 25 of us, we spent $250,000 meeting in Holland for Christmas vacation. And next year, what do you mean we're not going to be doing this? I deserve this in life. This is the kind of royal life I'm supposed to live. And so you see all that going on. So think about as you build these different profiles. Any other kind of profile we need
Can I
to
stop for a second there?
Yes.
Based on these profiles, so now we have kids in poverty, kids from wealthy family. Where do you think these kids spend their time? How would you reach them with your message?
They're at schools, and some of them have tablets, like some of them might have
The
access.
wealthy kids.
Yeah, some of them might have access.
I think let's break this A and B. So A is kids who grew up in a poor background. How would you reach them? Would you have a digital campaign for them?
Probably outdoors,
Radio?
Television?
television and schools. I think it's more where they are because we don't know if they have TVs at home. We don't know if they have radios at home. So I think the only place that I can definitely think of where these kids would be is schools.
Or on the street, outdoors.
Posters. And no digital campaign, yeah.
So none of them are wrong answers. They're all right answers. That's what we go through every day at work when we have to build a consumer profile, and we have to break down each segment and justify segment with the channel. So say outdoor or radio is for kids with poor background. What about kids from rich background?
iPads.
Digital.
Games, TV show commercials.
And I think that you reach all these kids. I mean, if you can make their parents believe that it's a good concept, like a different and good and like kind of wholesome concept of Santa Claus, then that's another way to the kids. Because you don't want to leave the parents out because they're the ones who spend the money, and reinforce the kids' beliefs.
No. Sorry, I thought about it. It's not worth saying.
She usually does have a lot to say.
I need to shut myself up sometimes.
So this was really well done, by the way. That's how we build the new profile, and this is what goes on. So whenever someone asks us, build us a campaign. We want to learn about the consumer because it helps us decide a channel we want to put the message on. How do you do this? Santa Claus is like, you know a lot about Santa Claus. What do you guys know about 8-year-olds who play video games all day like Dr. Pepper? How do we start? We start with a small thing, like 8-year-old from a small town. What does he like? He likes comics, he likes watching these TV shows, he likes drinking this beverage, he goes to McDonald's twice a week. Once we get all those things, then we look at research papers to go down into how do these people think? What's their daily? Like we build a 24-hour, what does this kid do? He wakes up at 1 p.m., eats his breakfast, games all day long. Yeah, he was smoking. That's why Jack in the Box munchies. Great targeting. Yeah, that's a case study.
I just have a question. I know we're trying to make everyone or our target audience believe in Santa Claus, but who's our client? Is our client Santa Claus? Or is our client people who are trying to sell more gifts? Or is it
Your decision.
outreach?
Your decision, guys.
That's true, who promotes Santa Claus?
In the other class, we had 2 groups who decided that they were dealing with nonprofits about Santa Claus, and that those were their clients. It's up to you to make this work. The product is Santa Claus, you determine everything else.
So how we go about it?
Hold on, stop. Guys, I have another craziness in this methodology, okay? Here is the other reason here. Nobody has ever done a campaign like this on Santa Claus. You guys are going to evolve some of the most extraordinary, powerful, creative campaigns about Santa Claus. I am then going to put these things out there into the social marketing space, into the blogosphere, everywhere, to be able to get people interested in you guys. If you saw, any of you saw this morning's blog post, one of my former students, Mona Molayam, did the design of it. So I said, bye Mona Molayam, and then on the bottom I gave a little bio about Mona, what kind of job she's looking for, and then we put in Mona's email. Mona's already gotten all sorts of response and hits. I'm gonna do this with all of you guys. We're gonna figure, and this is another thing, guys, how do you create a concept towards an end? How do I use social marketing? What do I do? My end with all of you, yes, it's 1 is to teach you, but 2 is to get you all jobs, and 3, those of you who are foreign students who want to stay in this country, we need to get you guys jobs so you get visas. Nobody is going to be more interested in anything than Santa Claus. Okay, so we got a whole plan here that I wasn't going to talk about now, but we'll get there. Go ahead.
I think that's the end. I'm trying to say it. But I think you asked me to talk about digital marketing, and I thought, how should we start a digital marketing campaigns? Because whenever someone asks me, should we be on social, I think that answer the question by looking at your target audience.
Okay, so ask questions. Stay. You're not even done yet. Wait till you see what I'm going to do with you. Go ahead.
What do you think is one of the more successful digital banner campaigns? Because I feel like mostly banners and things like that don't have any actual success. Have you seen any of that too?
So of our, say, $100 million budget, 60 million is for banners, because they still have the most traffic. People are stupid enough to click on that.
They do click on
Yeah.
them.
They got the most traffic, and they're cheaper to buy as well than social. So there's larger volume. So social, you can buy 10 ads, so you can buy 100 for the same money.
Are the ones that are more interactive? Are they the ones that are animated? Is there any sort of trends?
I don't work on display myself, but interactive units do way better than simple banner ads. But there are way more things. There's like a homepage takeover, like when you go on a website and something just comes in your face, and then a background takeover. Video is really big right now. Your pre-roll, your end of the roll. Facebook announced a video tool recently, and they already have more video plays than YouTube doesn't have. It's autoplay, you're scrolling and already plays, so that's more of that. And they can come and tell us at the ad agency, there's so many video plays. Yeah, because people just scroll through it, that's why. But that's how they use data against us. And then we got to use data against our clients to get their money. Display's still the biggest. Social's still trying to prove a point where it can drive conversion, it can get you money. It can get you sales on your website.
So what you're saying is social can be necessary for brands and business, but depending on the target audience, that's where you decide which platforms to really hit within those brands and businesses.
Yep. So like say a fashion brand, I wouldn't say a fashion brand should have a Twitter account. It makes no sense.
Yeah, right.
It should have Pinterest and Instagram. Don't waste your time on Twitter and Tumblr, yes. Like it should be really specific to your audience, not even industry specific.
So my other class this semester is a consulting class, and I have a new app. And their first thing was like, we want a marketing strategy and we want social media presence. So we want you to help us launch a Facebook page and a this and a that, and help us develop a voice for our social marketing. we actually, it's really interesting because we had a lot of this conversation with them about how important it was for them to first find out who it was they wanted to start using their app, who they thought would start using it. So we're doing some research for them and doing some surveys, but they're still really keen. How do you have that conversation? Like, how do we, like these people who say to you, like, shall I have a Facebook page? How do you have that conversation with them? Like, it's important that find this out, or where should they start? If you are going to start and invest some money, how do you advise them to start so that they're not just chucking tons of money away?
That's when your research paper comes. If you go to a meeting with a research paper and say the numbers show table does not work for your app, they will not argue with you.
Let me say something, Rose. There is a huge difference when you're dealing with Toyota or whoever it is that is spending hundreds of millions of dollars on their marketing and have a whole department set up to do exactly this, than when you're dealing with these pishy little clients who are going to argue with you over absolutely everything and don't understand and don't have the sophistication. So there's a big difference here. Rosen, ask your question and I want to say some things.
I wanted to ask, what is the difference in, now that the mobile get surpassed pretty much computers as a display of internet access, what is the difference in profiling through mobile rather than profiling through the computers, like using a cookie?
So mobile is number one. It's users spend more time on their phones than they do on their desktop. Mobile ads are really expensive. People spend a lot of time on apps than websites on mobile. And whenever we run mobile campaigns, they perform better than our display and search campaigns. Because then because mobile can add more layers. You can add geo-targeting. Someone's at dealership on his Facebook page. Hey, you have dealership. Try to show this code and you can probably get a discount. You're checking it on Foursquare. Apple's always tracking your location, if you guys don't know. Apple always knows where you guys are. Right now you can go and check your phone and I'll show you where it knows you're in Annenberg from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. So all the data allocation, all your, where you check in, all these data points, as a marketer agency, what now agencies are doing is they're mixing data to come up with profiles. Buy data from Facebook, about interest, buy data from Twitter, about what people are searching for, buy Google data, buy American Express data, what people are spending their money on, buy Apple data, what people are. So you get all this data, and mobile is, your question, mobile is way better than computers.
Okay, I want to say something. Hold on a second. For those of you coming from the land of Aladdin, Weibo, WeChat, you're going back to a country that is becoming increasingly technologically based in everything they're doing, and not one of you has asked a question about this. So, I'm opening this up right now to the Chinese students, who I know have a lot of thinking and are influenced in a lot of ways by what's going on in technology when you go home. What are your questions here? What are your thoughts? What are your concerns? You're going to be looking for jobs? You better understand what this is all about when Aladdin is becoming the worldwide leader of the technological revolution. And then somebody want to explain what Aladdin is? Go ahead.
It's actually Alibaba,
I'm sorry, Alibaba. Alibaba, I'm sorry, I'm getting mixed up between all these different stories. Go ahead. Alibaba. Aladdin?
I know what Alibaba is.
Alibaba is
Yeah, I know what Alibaba is.
Okay. So how does it affect you when you go back to China? What does this mean for you guys? What are you thinking? Go ahead,
I
Rose.
love Chinese, but I have a question about WeChat.
Yes, ask them about WeChat. Because God knows they're on it a lot.
I was reading somewhere that there's like a lot of marketing, like brands having a conversation. I was reading like a research paper about an East Asian study of WeChat users and how it's an increasingly popular way of advertising. And I just wanted to know if any of you guys experienced that, and if it's like positive or negative or whatever.
I think it's quite successful. Like for those of you who don't know how exactly WeChat functions, like it is like sometimes I explain it to people like it's like WhatsApp, but it has a different function where you can share your moments with your friends who use WeChat as well. And for business, I think they create public account for WeChat, and they share information. So that's like following a public account on Facebook, and they will share their content almost every day or every week, and they will post I don't know, shopping information or any information about how you can like how you get settled in the U.S. or like different content, and people follow those public accounts. They get notification every day, and then they read those content.
And do you like it? Like, do you follow lots of businesses in WeChat or not so much?
I follow some of the public accounts to get information because on WeChat it's very easy to use because you get information and then you get messages from your friends. And for the public accounts, you get sometimes they send you notification for like even discount for shopping. And for example, also news. Obama just spoke at APEC yesterday. Well, Chinese time that would be today, but it was yesterday about like the new immigration policy, and you immediately see it from your WeChat, and some of your friends will share it from their content, and then it will appear on your moment. So it's like combining everything together. So I think it's successful, and businesses start to use more and more WeChat.
You were going to say something?
Yeah, actually, there is one other function that I'm using very often, is that you can not only have a personal conversation, but you can also have a group conversation. Like for all the CMGT students, Chinese students, we actually have a group.
I heard about this. I heard about this, and I said to somebody, is it only in Chinese? I want to join this, and it's only in Chinese.
Yeah, it's only in Chinese,
Yeah.
but like Professor Lee, he knows Chinese, he reads Chinese, and
right.
he actually has WeChat, and I'm doing like a research for him. We actually contact each other through WeChat. And also for that group contact, like for the CMGT Chinese students group, we actually talk about our assignments and everything.
I've heard it's like you guys got a whole other culture going on here.
Yeah, it's
like there's like another world going on through WeChat in this program.
It's like whenever you want to hang out with other friends, you just talk in a group, and I wanted to go somewhere. Is there anybody wants to go with me? And also like as you just talked about, like students live abroad and want to travel. Actually, I see most of my friends share their travel plans through WeChat, and they just ask people who want to join me. Like,
So wait, I want to stop and say something. It is so important that you Chinese students share this with us and tell us that, because as I said earlier in the class, we're living in a globalized culture. There are multiple cultures going on in this room dealing with all this stuff in really different ways. We need to learn this from one another. We need to share this. We need to cross-pollinate, because the world's only going to get smaller and smaller. And you guys being in a communications program where this is all happening in more ways than anywhere else, it is so important that we know what's going on, that you're all contributing your thinking, your opinions, your issues, your this, to be able, something extraordinary could come out of this, which is why I'm trying to drag you guys into this conversation, because you have so much to say about this, because I know you'll come up to me privately and talk my ear off about it, but you won't talk about it in class. And we need to bring this in and talk about this and exchange these ideas, because even Karan can be walking away from this tonight learning a tremendous amount here. Let me throw this open to the Indian students. Is there a whole other way that you guys are tackling the online space in the world differently than Americans are?
I think for us, probably WhatsApp is one of the biggest platforms which we use to communicate with, because being in the global program, we have friends all over the world.
I see it, radio, television, banner, print, they've been there, done that, they're old dogs, and they won't go anywhere.
Yeah.
This was a new player trying to get a share of the market. And even in our agency, the digital team is usually people who are older 50 and above. But you know, the radio team traditionally are people who are older, who've been in their seats so long, and the younger do digital. So it's actually a challenge for, that's where data tries to like kick radio and TV's ass, like listen, you guys already know what you're talking about. So radio and television haven't, they're still going strong, and they'll keep on going strong.
So hold on, I want to get back to something else here, because the issue of globalization as well, not to underestimate what he's saying, and the analysis and trying. So I want to throw this out to the Indian students. You can participate in this too. So because there's so many of you listening, so I was actually talking about this with Ben today. I said, I'm trying to get a grasp onto this culture, how to be able to teach them effectively. I said, here's what I'm learning, and you guys can tell me whether I'm totally off base or whatever. So, whenever I'm in New York, has anybody ever been in a taxi in New York? Okay, almost 80% of these guys are from India. What do you notice about them, even if it's 3 in the morning? They are talking. And I often think to myself, who are they talking to? At 3 o'clock in the morning, a constant stream of words in discussion in Hindi and whatever language is going on. And I keep saying to my friends, I said, I think it's a gambling ring that goes on between India and the United States, and they're putting in
Customer service.
And they're trying to figure all this out. What is that?
Multitasking, customer service and taxi at the same time.
It's just constantly going on. So I realize now, especially when I looked at all your guys' copy at the beginning, you come from a very expressive culture of words. And so I was telling Ben, I said one of my biggest challenges with the Indian students was to get them to focus, to get out a lot of the words. Now, is that a legitimate analysis? Am I dealing with, in dealing with you guys, am I dealing with a culture that's exceedingly, it's like dealing with, you know, with people speaking Arabic, it's like, it's so expressive. And so I sense that I'm dealing with a culture where it's like deeply expressive in words. Correct or not? What do you guys think? The Indian students, what are you looking at me for? What do you think?
I honestly, maybe because it's an outsider's perspective, I've actually never even thought about it in that way. I know a lot of people who are very non-expressive, who can't speak, who don't articulate well, but I don't know.
I mean, do you ever read Indian novels? I read a lot of them. Like what was it, A Special Boy, whatever it was? It went on for 800 pages.
A Suitable Boy.
Yeah, A Suitable Boy. And I thought to myself, okay, this book keeps going on and on and on and on.
Well, that's because you chose a writer who likes.
Even Indians get bored of reading Vikram Seth books like,
I mean, no, I don't think it's a culture thing. It's more of a specific thing. Maybe you just come across more people who like.
I think Indians too, like we are expressive people, but that is not necessarily, our expression is not synonymous to the length of our words. The expression can be through emotions, it can be through words, it is again very, very personal. So again, like you saw a couple of Indian ads, like when you saw Cadbury ads. So again, emotion is very important when it comes to that. But in the end, they just had one line running throughout the entire ad.
Okay, Rose, what are you going to tell us about your product?
Well, my mom's side. My mom's side. I feel, and also my new family, my fiance and his parents, and their extended family. I met tons of them when I went over. I think it's a very verbose culture. Maybe it's just different parts of the maybe it's different parts of the country. I don't know, but I think it's pretty verbose. My assessment of him and his family is that they will use in a very endearing way because they love to tell stories. Everything's a story. So if it's just information, it's like 10 words where just a few would do. So I wouldn't say more or less expressive, but they use more words.
You see, because I want to say something. The challenge to me as your teacher in a subject matter like this, where you have to articulate, is to figure out with the foreign students what kind of culture I'm dealing with at every single stage, because the more specific I get into you folks, the better job I can do. Now, when I came here, I didn't know anything about Chinese culture. Students start teaching me now because I'm teaching out at Long Beach State with all these visiting Chinese business delegations. Whoa, am I learning. And I'm also learning how I can push you guys like I did today, because once you get pushed, it's like then all of a sudden the faucet opens up and the stream starts to come out. And so I'm learning with each culture how you have to deal, but it's really a microcosm of the world today, and how in business and everything we have to be dealing and have to understand this specifically. Now, you think you're done yet? You're not done, okay? Take a break, folks, for 10 minutes. We're coming back, and then the real work. Now we're gonna apply what Karan's been talking about to Santa Claus, and we're gonna actually do a mini think tank session in here. Great.
I'm doing it. It's a real deal. What about you?
I don't have much of an imagination anymore. That it takes to really, truly believe in Santa Claus.
Okay, what are we gonna say? Did you have your hand up?
I can say something.
Please, go ahead.
Like, for me, I mean, Santa Claus Christmas means like a lot of, like my friends go to shopping, like, yeah.
Wait, is Santa Claus an issue in China? Do they talk about it?
Like, we do have like Christmas, but we barely talk about Santa Claus. We know it's a Western thing, but like Santa Claus is close to Christmas, and Christmas is close to like big deals and parties and a lot of places like with pretty decorations.
Okay. And what about in India? Is Santa Claus a big deal?
Not as big as it is here, but it is.
But it is a big
People do
yeah.
still decorate for Christmas
Uh-huh.
and whatever. It doesn't matter.
Ross, in Bulgaria, Santa Claus a big deal?
Yeah, it actually had different.
Sam, shh. Go ahead.
It actually, for my parents, it was still the same concept of Santa Claus, but it was called something different. It wore blue clothes, but right now it's the legit Santa Claus.
Wait, I got a question. And during the communist era, was Santa Claus a big deal in Bulgaria?
Yeah, they had another figure which was pretty much Santa Claus with blue clothes, and they called him Santa Snow.
Santa's
not very creative.
Like the worker. Santa Claus the worker. Okay. I actually think this is a pretty interesting demographic. Let's look at college students. Okay? What were we going to say, Anthony?
Yeah, in case I'm talking about, it's a great demographic because, like, I mean, we don't believe in superheroes are real or the Ninja Turtles, but you make them awesome and you make them modern, and we'll go see the movie. So I think, like, if you put what's popular right now on like Instagram is like man buns are really popular and big bearded men. It's like, yo, you put one in a Santa Claus costume and say like Merry Christmas, and your college girl, you're just gonna like that. You know?
Okay, so let's look at something. Let's do this first. So, we're going to sell Santa Claus to college students. Towards what end? What are we trying to accomplish here with college students in selling them on Santa Claus? Rick?
I think it's making them believe for at least like 10 minutes.
Making them believe for 10 minutes towards what action? What end?
Satisfaction. Satisfying them somehow.
Like do something good, like give a gift to your friends.
Okay, wait, Sarah, go ahead.
Secret Santa, everyone still does Secret Santa art. You know, like the secret.
Explain the concept of Secret Santa. Everybody didn't come out of a culture where they understood Secret Santa.
So Secret Santa is where you put a bunch of you get a group of friends, you put all the names in a hat, Santa Claus hat, if you want to be festive, and then everyone picks a name out, and then you're supposed to the person you pick the name of, you give a gift to them. It's a secretly wrapped gift. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
You don't
And
always get it from, but I mean, you can reveal who it is later if you want.
You
but
reveal
most-
after.
Yeah, but I mean, we've done stuff where you don't reveal who your Santa is, and you just like exchange gifts.
So, would this, Coco?
I think the idea that Santa Claus exists and you could be Santa. You could be Santa, do Santa.
Okay, okay, Danielle, what
I
do you
was
say?
just kind of going to go along the same line, that we could sell Santa as a concept, and it doesn't have to be an actual mythical guy that goes around and does stuff, but our generation in particular is very community driven, no pun intended, but I mean like Uber and all these community sharing things, Airbnb, so it's no longer about ownership and consumerism for buying and keeping and purchasing things, but it's more about sharing and experiences. I know the experience word is a cliche, but yeah, selling Santa as a concept that everybody can kind of get involved in.
All right, so hold on.
I think going off what the two of them said, that having the satisfaction that you can bring happiness to somebody.
Okay, so hold on. Sam, what were you saying?
I was just gonna say that as like maybe using Santa Claus to sell the spirit of Christmas on an older demographic, because as I got older, I sort of got, not like kind of like too cool for Christmas. Like it became less of this thing. When I was young, it was a huge deal. So using Santa Claus to make Christmas or the spirit of Christmas.
All right, so hold on. Let's pull this together now, guys. We know we want to sell Santa Claus for the spirit of Christmas. We know we want to sell Santa Claus for them to be Santa to some other person or people or whatever it is. Okay? So let's keep developing this further. So, towards what end now? Are we dealing with a commercial end with maybe some company where this is their give back and it becomes part of their image at Christmas time? Are we dealing with a nonprofit? Are we dealing with the college campus and how they can get involved with something? Let's look at towards what bottom line so that we know what kind of media we want towards the audience, towards what goal. You see where I'm focusing and what I'm trying to do here? I'm trying to build something here so that we have a focus and we've got a direction. So we can go back to what Karan taught us tonight and say, now let's go back through those slides and apply them to what we're doing, but we've got to know what our bottom line is here. So I'm going to throw it out to you guys. Let's decide what the bottom line is.
Buzz, awareness.
Towards what? Buzz and awareness. I'm so glad you said that, Sarah, because I hire people at times who are so busy creating buzz and awareness, and I have to say to them, towards what end? In the end, you're not going to evaluate just buzz and awareness. You're going to evaluate what it accomplished. Rose.
I'm sorry, Lauren's laughing at this, so I don't know whether it's something you do here. But you talked about encouraging kids to be Santa for someone. We used to pack shoeboxes at my school in England, and then send them to partner with schools in Africa, like pack them full of presents, and then they were getting Christmas gifts. We do it around Christmas.
Okay, so let's look at this for a second. Let's take this idea. All right? Now, we know in the end this idea would benefit these kids in Africa. But who here is it going to benefit aside from the kids the people who are getting involved with it?
Companies that are like volunteering to give toys or things.
Great. Okay, Sharon. What were you going to say, Anthony?
Same thing.
Okay, let's develop this. So we know now what this is. This is getting college kids to be able to identify and play Santa, to pack boxes for kids in Africa or even kids here in LA. Okay? It could be anywhere to pack these boxes. We know that it's going to work now with a toy company. Okay? So that it's part of, there's an association here. Who's the toy company?
Hamleys.
What'd you say?
Hamleys.
Hamleys. Okay? You say Fisher Price. What do you guys want, Hamleys or Fisher Price? What's Hamleys?
Oh, it's a British toy store.
Yeah.
Toys R Us. Well, they have branches in India, so I thought it was a global
Okay, we got to talk about, yes, either Toys R Us who are going out of business and have declared bankruptcy, not a good idea. Okay? They've got problems up the kazoo. So let's go to Fisher Price. Okay? Now, so guys, you're beginning to see the link here. We hook up USC with Fisher Price, or we hook up an association of college campuses with Fisher Price. So maybe through USC, we start to look and say, who could be, either we do this with a bunch of schools in LA, or we do it around the country, and we say we get an association of 10 campuses or 20 campuses. So now, and then there's Fisher Price. So we've now got two targets here that we have got to be able to reach. We've got to reach college students to get them active, and we've got to work with Fisher Price to be able to reach their consumer market who's going to feel really good about Fisher Price because now we've got a corporate philanthropic idea here that's part of the branding of Fisher Price so that everybody knows when they buy their toys for Christmas for their kids, they're contributing towards all these other kids. And we've got to determine now who all these other kids are. And let's look at something else. What is the delivery mechanism to these other kids? Is it a government? Is it a nonprofit? Is it a church? Is it a school? Who is the delivery mechanism to these kids of these toys that are collected in these boxes? It's a nonprofit. What kind of nonprofit?
Like some type of like social service nonprofit, maybe somebody who does home visits or somebody who like
Constructs things in other countries.
Let's pick one that we know.
Make-A-Wish.
Make-A-Wish. Okay, guys. So we have now got a partnership going on between college campuses, Make-A-Wish, and Fisher-Price. Look what we have just put together. Okay? So now we've got several targets we're going after. We're going after college students after we somehow create this coalition to get involved. We're working with Make-A-Wish Foundation to be able to partner with them out to all of their donors and all of the people who support and work with them. Then we're working with Fisher-Price, who we're looking at their consumer market of the parents who are buying all of the toys and the stores to whom they distribute. Okay? So, you see what we have just put together and the thinking that has to go on here. Now, where does Santa Claus play into this? Anthony.
Santa Claus is the visual, and Santa Claus is the whole idea. So like maybe we're Santa Claus, maybe it's a Santa Claus program, and it can be an image of Santa Claus and the idea of Santa Claus, which is joy and warmth.
Okay, Shraddha.
I was thinking because, we want to tell basically that these college kids are sort of becoming Santa Claus.
Yeah.
One of the things we could do is, I know that USC is big on cycling. So maybe that could be a way when you go to drop off these things, that could be, how we dress up these students could go and basically drop off. I was thinking kids on Skid Row, because I know Skid Row is an area where there are a lot of poor kids. So
Yeah. Can't bike down Skid Row unless you're in groups.
Oh, I know how it is.
Yeah. My son went down there to drop off food one night at 2 in the morning. He said it was like being on another planet. He said, and I've been down to Skid Row many times for work, but I've never been at 2 in the morning. He said the whole thing, it was like you were in some sort of a movie with the fog and he said it was like you just couldn't believe what was going on down there at 2 in the morning and what it felt like. He said it was like you were in some, he just described it. He went to see, what's the movie with Jake Gyllenhaal that's out right now?
Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler. He said to me, it's like Nightcrawler.
Oh.
He said you can't even imagine what it's like. But anyway, besides this point. Okay, but what you've just done is identify part of the delivery system. So there's all sorts of possibility for delivery here. All right, so I want to pull something together here for the sake of time. Where does Santa Claus play into this? In the following ways. The college students are still the central target for Santa Claus. They're the central nerve for all of this. You are selling the college students back on the mystery and the responsibility of Santa Claus. That they become Santa Claus and they represent this mystery and everything to these kids in the end that get this. So you're selling them back on mystery, you're selling them back on playing the role of Santa Claus in all sorts of ways. You are selling Make-A-Wish to be able to engage with these college kids and sell this image of the college kids as Santa Claus to the kids that they actually service. You are working with Fisher-Price, where you're connecting them with college students, where college students become their Santa Claus, and there's a whole issue there and a big PR story that could be working up there in that way. You also are looking at the college campus. You could be creating extraordinary events on college campuses, Santa Claus events, where all of a sudden 1,000 students show up dressed as Santa Claus to these, and you can imagine the creativity that could come out of that. So there's all of this going on. So now let's get back to what Karan taught us. Okay? We know where we're going with all this. Let's pick the college students. What is the media that you're going to work with to reach hundreds of thousands of college students across America?
Sororities and fraternities.
Say again.
Sororities and fraternities.
Okay, and Karan, feel free to chime into any. Sororities and fraternities, okay? How do you reach the sororities and fraternities? Call them and contact them. What else? Say again?
Mixers.
Mixers, okay?
Social media.
Social media, what kind of social media?
Basically all kinds of social media, I think, for this demographic. Facebook.
I mean, wouldn't we just go to the offices? Don't they have a database on like the leaders of sororities and all the...
It's okay, so guys, if you're gonna do social media, what you have to do, you better get to the people who are influencers that have the biggest followers.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the hashtag on social media for this?
Greek life.
Huh?
Greek life.
Week life?
Greek
Greek life. What else?
What is that? Could you do something if it was a C with like University of Santa Claus? And like
Yes, you could. Yes, you could. University of Santa Claus. That's great.
Yeah,
That's great. Sarah, I mean, the Shannon.
You could also go to we all have to get that listserv email. If you could find out how to get all those students, that's where you could get a lot more people involved. By
Okay.
doing like a listserv kind of thing.
Karan, give us some other ideas here.
For like hashtags, you're saying?
Not even hashtags, social media for college students.
Snapchat. Snapchat up everybody.
Yeah, there's kids Snapchats now.
Okay.
You hear
It's
about
bigger
that?
up Santa Claus.
Give yourself a beard on
Oh,
Snapchat. You can draw one on, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see just now.
And how would you analyze whether this is working?
Mustache. Metrics. Analytics.
What would be your metrics and analytics for this? Huh?
What is working? What's the goal?
Whether or not we've gotten college students, enough of them engaged in this.
What is engagement? What do you have to define engagement?
Okay, very good. We have to define engagement, guys. What's the engagement of college students?
1,000 students participated, right?
Enter contest.
What is
Contest
participation?
No,
Like, what's
basically
an
students
action
who
you want someone to
sign
do?
up to be a part of this, right? To basically say that, okay, I will be a part of this and I will do whatever it takes to see to it that these kids get their gifts on Christmas.
Okay, stop right here. What are we learning about digital and social media just now?
Engagement.
Focus, engagement, and also, guys, this is not like you do your own social media and just send shit out into the social media universe. You gotta be able to do this in a really professional, focused way, because now you gotta accomplish something with this. And the accomplishment is not just saying, how many followers do I have? It's, did they take the action that we're asking them to take? Did the college students get involved and participate to be able to somehow work with Fisher-Price in a way to deliver these toys? Did they commit? Did they just, are they maybe working with Make-A-Wish to raise money towards this? It's like you've got to look at all of these things and put together. This is when Karan was starting at the beginning of saying, you know, the issue on social media with these cars is you got to make sure you're selling cars.
ROI.
In the end, the ROI, what's the return on the investment? What is the return? What return are we looking for here? So that you see, here's what happens. I hire all these social media people to work with me, and I get rid of them all within 2 months. Because what they do is they find me all these followers, but they don't know how to find me business. And they can't translate between followers and business. And to say, I don't care that I've got 100,000 followers. If it's not producing business, it's not producing anything. So you've got to figure out how you use it to produce business. So let's go now and jump over to Fisher-Price. Okay, Fisher-Price's goal here is to enhance their branding, to be able for people who to buy Fisher-Price toys because they're going to feel good that a certain percentage of this is helping out other kids' Christmas. What we do on social media to move this message and to actually make it work.
I feel like you need a genuine tone of voice. People can smell bullshit. You need to be genuine and really not make it about we want to sell because we want money. If we want to sell for the greater good.
Okay, we need a genuine voice. What else do we need to actually sell a Fisher-Price toy with this campaign?
You connect the direct benefits that the children receiving toys will be getting, you know.
Okay, what else?
It's like every benefit that Fisher-Price is getting, 1% of it is going to Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Okay, very good. What else? Let's look at purely commercial here.
Memorable campaign.
You want to promote. You want to give these people coupons. You want to be able to give these people money off. You know that sells stuff. You want to be able to give these people, buy 2 toys and get a 3rd one free. This will happen. Be the Santa Claus. Help with the Santa Claus. So you're now bringing into this, folks, pure business, nonprofit, college campus, all these things that are going to make the sale in the end. So let's say you're couponing or you're promoting. What's the social media to make this happen?
Groupon.
Say again?
Groupon.
Groupon. Okay.
Guild.
Very good. What else?
Contest curations.
Oh, great idea. Contest curations. And you can move this thing in all sorts of ways. So now you're coming up, you got to see what Sarah's doing. She's creating ideas here, guys, to make this move. So you see all of this is brought in. So let me go back here again. You have learned how to focus to create concepts, to create ads, to create radio, to create TV, to create all billboards, outdoor, and all that. Now you're realizing how complex the digital sale is because of, one, what it is, and 2, the way the world has changed it. This is why the digital space is giving me and everybody else who's a marketer a massive nervous breakdown and headache. Because everybody is still trying to figure it out and how it's going to work and how it becomes most effective. We know it reaches millions of people. How do you make it work to actually produce the sale in the end, or to produce the end result that has to happen? You want to comment on that? Okay. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Am I doing this well? Thank you. All right. What else about this? What other ideas? Do you guys see how this needs to be put together? How we need to think? You see, this is the other thing too. This is the other fallacy that's running around. People think, get in your generation because they know social media and just get them working this stuff. But you guys got to learn how to produce a sale. You guys got to learn how to produce a concept and an idea that engages and involves in order to make it work. It doesn't just work because it's out there, and I cannot tell you how many clients, this is Karan saying, are spending millions of dollars, get the word out on social media. Is it producing towards what end? Not unless you bring in all these other pieces and all this other kind of thinking in order to make it work in some way. Okay, so you got a job ahead of you with this, in how you think about it and everything, how you frame this, because then comes your campaign. Because then you say to yourself, now that we know what we're doing, what kind of ad campaign do we want to create about this? To whom are we creating? If you guys have to create 3 ads, then you may say, Gary, one ad is aimed at the campus here, one ad is, because we want to show, one ad is aimed at the Make-A-Wish people, and one ad is aimed for Fisher-Price, carrying these different coupons, these different promotions, these different things, but they're all about Santa Claus. So you've got a complexity here that you're dealing with that you got to think about. Okay, and some real analytical, critical thinking that you've got to be able to do. Am I scaring the hell out of all of you? Okay. So you got to think in this way. All right, let me ask you guys questions. Let's go around. We're going to start. I want you guys to think for a minute. We want to go around. What did you learn tonight? Okay, one thing. We'll start with Rosen, but I'm going to give you guys all a minute to think about it.
You want to get a minute?
You get a minute too. Take a minute of silence.
What did you learn today? We had a guest speaker that taught us a lot.
I learned a lot too. I had no idea where I was going with this. Okay, here's what I learned. I think the biggest thing I have just learned is when we start seriously integrating the digital world into this, we're playing a whole different game, guys, than everything else I've taught you this whole semester. And it now suddenly takes over in a whole different way and starts to drive it in a whole different way. And you see, the reason I wanted Karan coming in was I knew all semester I had to teach you guys how to concept, how to do these different media, but then I knew that once we got into the social marketing, the digital, it was going to change everything, but I wasn't sure exactly how it was going to change it. But this is next week when Jilly comes in. These are some of the things because she had said to me, she said, they cannot get a job unless they understand how to deal in digital. The ad agencies are looking for them to understand digital. And you just heard what Karan said. The guys my age are sitting there still doing radio. But the people your age are expected to know how to do digital. Okay, plus all the other things. Excel. So that's what I've learned. Okay.
I've learned that everything is integrated and we have to pretty much ask ourselves what is the benefit of everybody involved in a particular campaign. So we have to go beyond the obvious. What is social may not be what is on social media.
Great. Next. That's you, Tom.
Oh, we're going on.
Yeah.
Just the importance of finding where people naturally express themselves. So it doesn't feel like.
Great. Fine.
I've learned that you don't have to be on social to be social. That proliferating talk amongst people still has genuine forms.
Thanks.
That was mine, but I will say also, it's okay. Really digging deep into the topic and the segment of the audience that you're trying to engage with.
Great.
I learned that in class is such a different culture from
Okay, can you explain?
well, the values different, and then people, I think the way that people discuss it are different. Also, I don't know, like the whole way from me.
What's the afternoon class? I'm so
Because
curious.
we have a smaller
Yeah.
class.
No, it's the same. It's just that half of that class is in here right now.
Much fewer in here.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Stephanie. What did you agree with?
I learned about community, and you have to try to get the community that already exists. So find that community you want to engage in loyal conversation with people that are getting a lot of followers, but who your followers
Great.
are.
Shraddha.
Don't be on social just because it's the buzz. If it's not right for you, don't do it.
Great. Brenda.
Pure quantitative data is ambiguous and can be presented.
Ooh. Ida.
If you're launching a brand, you need to find your audience first and then engage them.
Great. Cece.
Clear product in social context instead of merely making decisions.
Great. Gia.
I learned that.
Hold on. Gia, who sits quiet and comes out with gems when she finally reflects. Go ahead.
I just say that I learned that go to Laura Cole's class, I participate more in the
Which I gotta tell you something. Okay, Allison and Laura makes up all that. Go ahead, Laura.
Okay, well,
That's
everyone's
Allison,
literally
right?
said everything else I was saying, but I think the two most important things is you don't have to be on social to be social, and then to continually keep your overall goal in mind when you're feeling the social media.
So, wait, Rose, I gotta tell you a story. So my mother had 4 sisters. Her sister Rose was the one who was in control of everything. My Aunt Rose used to scare the hell out of me. So every time I hear the name Rose, I still see my Aunt Rose screaming at me. Anyway, go ahead.
I like that dynamic.
Yes, my mother had 4 sisters, and they were inseparable. It was like being raised by these 5 overbearing Jewish women. I can't even imagine what it was like. Go ahead.
Okay,
And I have 18 first cousins
Oh my
from my
God.
mother's sisters, and we all talk about the same thing all the time. Go ahead.
Towards what end? Not getting distracted by a hype of a great idea on social media, but really remembering to keep in mind what you want people to actually be doing with it.
Okay. Next.
I learned from the class how important cultural diversity is when considering different characteristics of different people, especially for Chinese students and Indian students. While Indian students more likely to express themselves and more a storyteller, while Chinese students like me is less talkative and really shy to express myself. And one thing I want to talk with all of you guys is that today is November 11th. It is the Singles Day in China. And last year, Alibaba made the Singles Day like the Black Friday of America.
What is the Singles Day mean?
It's like day for the singles, the people who are not married, who do not have a boyfriend or girlfriend. And last year, Alibaba get the revenue of around 6 billion American dollars in the 24 hours, and it is still on sale now, and all of you guys can get 50% of all of the products on Alibaba's official Tmall site. And it's all because Alibaba went to the New York like this year, all of you knows it, and it's like free shipping globally now.
Are you going to get a percentage for doing this promotion?
And talking about like the connections between e-commerce in China with Alibaba and mobile, because they have like connections through WeChat that is access like when you're text messaging and you have this like. This is the moment, and this is where you can find your friends, and this is like a shopping, and when you click into it, you got directly to this site.
Well, I have a question for you. So there was a special I saw on TV last year. I was in Canada doing some work. It was a Canadian TV program about all these Chinese parents meeting to try to be able to match up their children. That all these Chinese parents who were like in major cities like Beijing and all sorts of places, upset that their kids weren't married, their daughters like you, because they're off on professions and they want to get these daughters married off, and they're trying to find husbands for them. It was actually totally fascinating watching this thing as to what was going on. The other thing I just wanted to tell you when you're talking about the singles, so I was up until I'm going to Toronto actually on Thursday, but up until 2 years ago I was spending a week a month in Toronto for 10 years on this project that I was working on, so I got to know the city really well. So one year they instituted on Fridays in the subway system that the last subway car was the singles car, so that all day long singles could go into the last subway car and mingle and try to meet each other, and then look to see how many matches came out of this singles day in the subway. It was absolutely hysterical, but fascinating to watch this culture happening. It's really interesting how in our society we try so hard to match people up. I was just talking to a friend of mine who's divorced, and she has this new boyfriend, and I said, so what's happening? She says, why does everything have to happen? She says, it's just fine the way it is. And I thought, pretty interesting discussion. Anyway, okay, Lauren, Allison.
Oh my God. Knowing your audience, building a consumer profile will help determine what your messages will be and what channels will be.
Very good. All right, guys, this was a really worthwhile class tonight. I'm throwing all of you out, and those of you who I've got to be grading your papers, stay here so that we can do this all now, okay? Guys, it's been a great night. Thank you for coming. Is anybody walking back to watch at Vermont 36?
Yes.
Okay, will you walk back with Dina so she doesn't have to wait with me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, yeah, great. All right, thank you guys. Good night. Bye.
No. It was
Yeah.